flaws in it too, where I thought that it had a very negative effect on small business and had the opposite effect it was supposed to have. I didn't like the fact that it didn't have the cost savings in it that it should. It didn't restrain the rate of growth in our healthcare expenditures. And I didn't like the tax increase. And yes, it was a tax increase on the wealthy. And maybe nobody in here makes more than $1 million a year. But I think that that policy is misguided and misplaced as part of a health care bill. So that's one of the big reasons I voted against it. And if that is included in the bill that's brought to the floor, I will say for all the cameras that are here, if that tax increase is included, I will vote against the bill. But the expense comes from, you have to explore, what's the expense of the bill? Why does it cost so much? First of all, you realize the $1 trillion that we're talking about, it's an astronomical, inconceivable amount of money. It's a 10-year number. We spend this year on health care, 2009, we're going to spend $2.5 trillion on health care for 1 year. So we're talking about, on average, and this number is going to come way down, but even if you start with that, well, you can laugh. If it doesn't, then we're not going to vote for it. But it's $100 billion a year out of a system that today spends $2.5 trillion and goes up well above the rate of inflation every year. So that's the subtext for the amount of money that we're talking about. The cost comes almost entirely from the idea of getting more people into the system, helping people that can't afford health care to afford it. And again, we've had that discussion. You may or may not agree with that philosophy, but that's where that cost comes in. So here's what I say. If you cover everybody, that's where you get your trillion, right? That's where you need a tax increase if that's the policy you want to pursue. I say, look, I don't want to do that. I want to get as many scorable savings as you possibly can in a reasonable and rational way. Squeeze the inefficiencies out of the current system. Let's go to a rational reimbursement. Let's modernize our reimbursement system. And you're going to achieve savings by doing this. And whatever that dollar amount is, that's what you have to work with. Forget about finding outside revenue. I strongly disagree with the president when he talks about this 2/3, 1/3 thing. I say forget about that other 1/3. These are tough economic times. So let's squeeze the savings out of the current system. Let's get whatever that dollar amount's going to be, and let's bring as many people into the system using those savings as we possibly can. Then it's a deficit-neutral bill. It doesn't add 1 penny to the federal debt or the national credit card for your children and grandchildren like mine. And you get the sensible, centrist reforms that I think are necessary without having to find that revenue on the other side. And I do believe that's where we're going to end up. I think that's going to be the finished product.